Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome to the Creative Bird Strategies podcast and house here on Clubhouse as well. You could find us on Spotify and Apple. We're here to provide education, networking, and creating opportunities. So I'm really excited that I'm back. Took about 11 days off, a little holiday last weekend, got a little breather. I know some of our fellow moderators got themselves involved with a couple of events where they were able to provide still some continuous education. And we're going to just jump right into our discussion this morning. But I first want to recognize our sponsors. Of course, I always want to recognize first Perkatech with Yordell Perkins, our social media strategist, as I call him, the Oz behind the drape. We have Abstract National, which is our nationwide title company. Realty 411 with Linda Pelagas, and myself, Joseph Scorese at Bayport Funding. So I'm going to get things going here in just a few minutes. I'm going to invite some individuals in that are online so we can get started. I think our discussion today will be very relevant to what's going on in the market, converting commercial real estate into residential multifamily. And I have a lot of experience with it, recent experience where we can really dive into it and use some real life examples. So I'm just pegging a lot of people in right now, get things started here. And then we'll mod some people up, of course. And see here. I'll bring Melissa up. I haven't seen Melissa in a split second. If anybody would like to come up, I don't have any moderators on here yet, so please feel free to come up. Hey, Justin, how are you? Justin, are you there?
Yes, sir, man.
All right. Good morning. How are you? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So it's been a little minute. I took a last weekend off. My wife and I went away on vacation. It was beautiful. We had a great time together and spent time. But it was good to kind of disconnect and rejuvenate the juices there. Kind of come up with some ideas. Obviously, I'm going to be applying a lot of those over the next several months. I'll have some further bigger announcements as well coming up in regards to lending programs and products, which I'm quite excited about. But I want to talk about this is something close to the heart, converting commercial real estate into residential multifamily. I've been really very involved in the conversions of a lot of commercial properties recently, small and large, and I can relate to what's going on in the market with the demand of residential rentals. So, but first, I always like to go over some articles that always catch my eye that I post on all my social media buckets. One from I always go to Mortgage News Daily to pull a lot of my information from, or DS News, and I think they would be great sources for you to obviously get updates from them as well and reading articles. But you're more than welcome to follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the great social media buckets out there. We're also going to be expanding in Instagram and YouTube very soon in regards to our podcast. But you can find us at the creativebirdstrategies.com, creativebirdstrategies.com. So we actually own now the domain Creative Bird Strategies. So we're really trying to take this whole thing that Clubhouse started several years ago, for us at least, to the next level. We want to stay connected with everyone. We want to be part of your power team, our moderators, our speakers, our podcasting team. So we're actually at episode 7. Today's episode 7. We're going to actually get 3 more podcasts added to there. We're having hundreds of downloads right now, which is great. We're building some great relationships out there. I'm actually getting inquiries and discussions, and people are coming to me about getting interviewed. And I'd like to help every one of you that stay so engaged with us all this time. I'd love to feature you as in a podcast interview if possible. If you'd like to arrange that, all you got to do is just send me 10 questions that you think that are going to be impactful to to some education and a little bit about yourself, and we'll have a 30-minute, 40-minute discussion, get you out there, market you, brand you, get you out there in front of people where to hopefully help support your business and your real estate professional space. So let's get back to the podcast itself, talking about converting commercial real estate into residential multifamily. So first, let's go cover some articles that I always like to talk about. Mortgage News Daily, an article that caught my eye this week: housing affordability remains near historic new low level. have to agree with that. Where right now the current mortgage payment average throughout the country is now about $2,500, and the average rent is $1,800. So the medians are really way off. And you're seeing migration, not just from movement of living for people to buy homes, but rental migration, everything going toward the Midwest, Southwest, affordability, less crime, more just a better quality of life. There's a lot of factors. I mean, I traveled to about 20 cities in the Midwest in the past year, and I'm telling you, you could see the impact to the suburbs to a lot of these small metro markets. They're growing. They're getting very unified. Their downtown communities are coming back. Things that were going back to the cities are now coming back to the suburbs or even the rural markets. So I do really think this article from Mortgage News Daily this week on housing affordability makes a lot of sense. Another article that caught my eye: U.S. asking rents flatten after pandemic roller coaster ride. So rents are starting to flatten out. You're starting to see a lot more rentals coming to the market, especially in the conversion space and multifamily space. You see a lot of booms in a lot of these metro markets throughout the country, but they're not building to sell, they're building to rent. So how there's just more inventory. And what's really scary, if you look at the urban cities, housing affordability, you're looking at affordable housing more of a Section 8 play, becoming more appealing to the landlord right now than the market rent because of the concerns of the professional tenant. Getting the tenant out in some of these metro markets throughout the country that are extremely tenant friendly is a distraction to or detraction to allowing landlords to go with the market rents. They'd rather just go with the guaranteed money or near guaranteed 90% on the money or 80% of the money from a Section 8 voucher and chase that difference down with the tenant or work it out with them because those individuals can't jeopardize that voucher. They'll lose the voucher if they do anything to jeopardize that. So I think a landlord feels a little more settling in renting now to Section 8, especially in the urban settings. And then the suburban settings are starting to see an impact as well. But I feel you're going to see rent control and rent requirements in the housing affordability space come about very soon in most metro cities throughout the country, like the New Yorks of the world and San Francisco's of the world, LA's of the world, Chicago's of the world. I think a lot of these smaller cities such as Philadelphia, St. Louis, uh, Atlanta is another market you want to concern yourself with. These are cities where they're going to have to enforce Section 8 housing to a lot of these multifamily developments. And how that impacts the rental market is yet to be seen. Another great article from DS News that I saw: home equity slips yet remains strong. So values are starting to come back down a little bit, not enough to make anybody that nervous, but I think if you have a home equity line of credit on your uh, on your home, you'd have to be concerned that the bank will reevaluate your values and cut back on that line of credit. So how does that impact you as an investor if you're using your line of credit on the home? Well, one, I would say if your credit's above 680 or better, you need to have a discussion with a lending specialist or strategist in regards to in regards to unsecured business lines of credit in your LLC. If you haven't had that discussion, you need to have that sooner than later. I probably refer anywhere from 10 to 30 real estate investors over to referral partners of mine for unsecured business lines of credit because you don't want to leverage your personal credit. You want to leverage the commercial positioning of your LLC. Everything should be done as a real estate investor as much as you can through the LLC. You're going to be a guarantor. That's never going to go away. But I think you really need to focus on one, your credit score and credit rating, and two, the LLC and its credit rating, because that's going to become extremely important as you grow in the real estate investor space. Let's dive into office to apartment conversions 2024. So just recently in the past, I would say 6 months, I have been personally involved with at least a dozen to a dozen and a half motel, office retail conversions to residential space. And all of them have been extremely successful and have been stabilized. Now, most of the motels that are converting to residential multifamily space have been moved towards Section 8 housing, meaning it's all going to be affordable housing. Now you're saying, wow, what are these towns thinking? Well, these are run down, drug infested, crime situated motels along certain corridors that I'm sure the communities are not real happy about in the first place. But two, now you're securing Section 8 housing where people are going to take a little more appreciation to that they're living there year in and year out. And two, you're not going to have children in a lot of these motel conversions because they're not big enough to allow children to reside in a studio slash one bedroom. So that it's going to be more of an older or more senior Section 8 housing play. We've now completed 4 of these in the last 6 months. The first one is live and it just got approved this past week, 25 units. It's being filled up right now by Section 8. It'll be full occupancy within 60 days. We'll then refinance the property into a multifamily long-term loan, typically somewhere between 60 and 75% loan to value. And he'll do it over and over again. And he has 3 more coming online. We're putting 2 more in submissions. But where are you going to find multifamily where you could pick up 50 to 60,000 a door, put 10 to 15,000 a door in, and your appraisal value comes back at 95 to $120,000 a door? Your debt service is like 2.0 or over, and your cap rate in any given market would be anywhere between 8 and 12%. It's a win-win. And then also I had the same situation happening in some downtown corridors where I'm seeing the 5 through 25 space where there's too much office space being unused, convincing the community, hey, listen, let's still keep some light office space, but let's convert the property into more residential. So I've seen 5 units, 7 units, 15 units where, the commercial space was somewhere over 30, 40, 50, or over 50% of the actual rentable square footage of the building. A lot of these municipalities are allowing the cutting back to be under 30% of the rentable square footage to the residential space, to the commercial space. So it's more 70-30 in favor of residential. And we're seeing them approving these and filling up extremely quickly. You're getting a better tenant in that commercial space. It's because it's not as big, it's not as pricey, and it's more strategic. And I'm able to refinance these properties in doing a bridge loan up to 80% or even 85% on the purchase, 100% on the construction. And then I'm refinancing these properties in the residential investment space, not commercial. Like it's still a commercial loan, but I'm able to get 30-year fixed money at 75% loan to value on that property. And the rate's not impacted any differently because the commercial space is under 30%. So real quick, I'm just going to do a quick reset. Hang on 1 second here. Just my thumb is not working that quick. So sorry about that this morning. Just getting back to being very thumb active on the weekends here. So real quick, I want to do a quick reset. This is a Creative Birth Strategies house here on Clubhouse. We're also live on Spotify and Apple. You could find us at creativebirthstrategies.com. But I have an event coming up myself personally in about a week and a half with South Jersey RIA. We're going to be discussing understanding asset-based lending. It's a full morning workshop starting at around 10 o'clock. We're going to go till about 1. Anybody that'd like to attend, I'm treating everybody for lunch. So we're going to have a great time in masterminding. I'm going to provide worksheets. I'm actually going to show investors for the first time how to price out their loans. So I'm actually going to bring pricing sizers to educate real estate professionals how to price out a loan. I don't think there's been a LO or any type of account executive in the industry that's willing to provide that. But I'm going to be willing to do that because I want to make sure I'm providing and giving back to the smartest real estate professionals out there. So we're going to price out loans live at this event. in it's in the Cherry Hill Market. So I put the link up there. So I'd love to see some of you join us this morning. At that time, it'd be a lot of fun. If you're traveling in, I would say come in on a Friday. We could all grab some lunch or dinner, and then Saturday we have the workshop, and we could always spend some time afterwards as well. So let's get started here with some of our moderators this morning. Good morning, Joseph. It's been a quick about 10, 11 days since we've discussed real estate. I got a couple texts from you this morning. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to discussion this morning, converting commercial real estate into residential multifamily.
Good morning, Joe, and welcome back from your rest and relaxation. I should say my rest and relaxation from you as well. But no, welcome back, and hope you're ready to go. Yep. I'm a buy and hold investor. I also invest in tax liens. I do a little bit of private lending as well. And I look forward to seeing you at your South Jersey REIA event. Really excited for that, especially since you're finally going to buy lunch. Get some lunch out of you. But I've been looking at this commercial, turning commercial buildings into rentals, and based on the builders that I've been watching, whether it's on YouTube or there was a builder that I talked to on Clubhouse, and they said it all depends on the core of the building. If you're able to core it out and get the situation to where it needs to be, in order to make a living apartment and split up and get different bathrooms and all that other stuff, as opposed to one big flat that just wouldn't be affordable on a rental. So yeah, it's interesting to see that the conversions are being done. The motels make the most sense. There's a couple of hotels in Philadelphia that years ago were converted to condos and or studios. So I was actually looking at some of those in Philly. No, it's just interesting how this market's going to play out.
Well, Joe, let's dive into this a little bit. This is not limited to just office retail and motels. You're starting to see these mixed-use buildings that are becoming just non-functional. They just can't get the commercial real estate space like they once did. Cutting it back to a smaller office space or commercial space, don't you think that'll be more appealing to that entrepreneur? It won't be as much of an overhead. It'll be very specific in what the industry will fill that retail, and then fill it up with residential around it with that where they might participate in giving back to that commercial space in some form or fashion. What do you think how that's going to impact the downtown corridors of the smaller communities where you invest? Like you're a single family through four family investor. Like where does that individual go to buy their merchandise or give back to their community? So what do you think about this from a community perspective?
No, I think that it definitely opens up the door for more entrepreneurs to get smaller space or office space, a little bit more of a professional environment. And if they cut that space down, it also gives entrepreneurs to share that office space, right? Just get a vanilla box and put two desks in there and they split the rent. And you see that more and more coming because people need some dedicated workspace outside of their home. Number one, to not feel like a hermit, right? And number two, to just be able to concentrate. But I've also met an attorney who has a law firm with 28 attorneys, and he has no commercial space, and he rents out conference rooms as he needs to meet with clients. Or one of his 28 attorneys needs to meet with clients if they do need to do it in person, because the virtual environment is now the more acceptable. People have kind of gone away where they need to shake hands. That's kind of the old-fashioned way of doing things. So it's really interesting on how it's all happening.
Do you know there's 175,000 apartments across the country already right now scheduled for conversion from old office space this year, just alone. Just this month, 150 over 155,000 apartments across the country. Okay, we're talking Washington D.C., we're talking New York City, we're talking Dallas, we're talking Chicago, Los Angeles, and Cleveland. We're not even talking about Pittsburgh, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Indianapolis. We're talking about Columbus and Cincinnati, Ohio's, the Akrons, the Youngstown, all the Wisconsins. You're talking Sheboygan, you're talking Eau Claire, Appleton, Milwaukee. These are markets that are just subsidiary markets. So how is this going to all impact? Like, let's even go down south. Like, I mean, like I know Florida, like everything goes really well in Florida, but I mean, is every market that good where commercial space is staying that successful? So you have to look at, one, we have to curb homelessness, right? We need more Section 8 and affordable housing because people are priced out of buying their own homes. What other options are there? I mean, listen, people are getting very much comfortable in allowing somebody else to take care of them. Having that eat, work, and live environment, having the virtual office space where, hell, you know what? That lawyer, if he has a office space, he only needs one desk for himself, right? He or she, and the rest of that office space, maybe the people that are living in the apartments need some flex space to work from. So now instead of working from their one bedroom apartment, they can go downstairs and work from an office space in a virtual environment with all the benefits of coffee, water, meeting room, everything. Like that's happening. That's present. That's what's going on in this conversionary environment. These commercial real estate buildings are not just being converted just to fully residential. They're putting office space, they're putting virtual space, they're putting light retail, food amenities. They're making it so comfortable that an individual doesn't have a desire to own a single family home. They rather that just live in a controlled environment, in a controlled space where they can go do what they have to do and come home. That's it. It just alleviates a lot of that pressures. Good morning, Melissa. Welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to the discussion this morning, converting commercial real estate into residential multifamily.
Hey, good morning, Clubhouse. Thank you, Joe. Glad to have you back. I did get some extra work done while you were on vacation last weekend. I am a realty, bookkeeping, and admin professional here in West Michigan, also a notary. And I love this conversion idea, Joe. I think it would fit right up what I want to focus on. And I would like to get people into good homes. I know some of my landlord friends here use a lot of them use Section 8, and I'm ashamed to say actually that they don't always offer the best living quarters for some of these people, and they just take the paychecks. And I think that's sad. I think you should give everybody a chance to live in a decent place so that they feel better about themselves, because it's true. I've been in rentals that I didn't feel that great living in, but I needed it at the time because I was transitioning. I also want to mention our Midwest Real Estate Investor Conference in Grand Rapids, February 22nd and 23rd. I noticed you're going to be someplace else, so I won't get to see you this year, Joe. I'm sorry about that. I am here mainly to learn from you guys because I don't have a lot of experience. I am also an aspiring investor, as well as trying to help my clients. I do want to mention when I lived in Denver about 20 years ago, I was doing some commercial real estate, and we were the property management company for several big office buildings. And I was always intrigued by one person that leased from us. She was a female. She took all those little teeny offices, and this was 20 years ago, you guys, and she leased those out to people, for lawyers, real estate agents. And I just always thought that was a brilliant idea. And the ability to put residential and some office, retail, conference room, whatever, has always intrigued me as well. So I think that's kind of the lane I'm going in, Joe. And I'd like to help some people out in Muskegon County. I think it needs a lot of help, and it's an area to grow.
Listen, I want to not scare people with the idea of commercial real estate conversions. I mean, we're not talking skyscrapers. We're talking, schools, public, small offices, and apartment apartment buildings that have too much square footage in the commercial space. Okay, you could sit down with the zoning department in these local markets and say, listen, you could either have a very empty commercial space, or we cut the space down, right? And make it kind of this like virtual office space for the people that might even reside in an apartment building. So I want to make sure that we're not just talking about the big investor. We're talking about somebody downtown where there's a storefront or a couple storefronts and apartments above, and you have a lot of emptiness going on, okay, because of overheads and circumstances. Some advantages of converting office space to residential housing: land use restrictions. Converting existing office space to residential units can bypass some land use restrictions that may hinder new construction, making it easier to increase housing supply in areas with limited available land. Timeline and cost, depending on the suitability of the building, it can be quicker and more cost effective to convert existing office space into residential units compared to demolishing and starting a new construction project. Environmental impact. Conversions often require fewer material inputs than new construction, and developers can incorporate more environmentally friendly features into these projects. Revitalization. Converting office spaces to residential units can help revitalize downtown areas that have experienced economic challenges, particularly if they rely heavily on commuter traffic. It can also stabilize property values and local government revenues. Now, let's talk about some challenges, because not everything's peaches and creams. Zoning and building codes. Changing zoning from commercial to residential can be complex and time-consuming process. Adhering to different building codes for residential use may also add cost to the conversion. So you got to look into that. Suitability. Not all office space are suitable for conversion to residential units due to differences in layout, access to natural light, plumbing configurations. Building may also need to be vacant, not just underutilized for the conversion to occur. Profitability. The costs associated with conversions and rental income values of commercial units compared to residential units may not always make these projects financially viable for developers. Demand. Potential residents may prefer established residential areas with amenities like grocery stores, which commercial districts may lack. This preference can be stronger in cases where individuals can work remotely, reducing the need to live near the workplace. Some other considerations: you want to have housing supply and affordability. If you convert a lot of these commercial space buildings to apartments, how does that impact the values of the homes in the local area? And then also, how does that impact the future of telework? The extent to which remote work will impact commercial real estate landscape remains very uncertain. While office utilization rates have trended upward in many major cities, the future of telework will depend on various factors, including labor market conditions. And then there's also federal government initiatives. Federal initiatives such as tax incentives and funding opportunities can support office to residential conversions. Depending on what administration's in charge, these are efforts by the federal government to encourage these conversions. Good morning, Timothy. Welcome. Brief overview: who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning: converting commercial real estate and residential multifamily.
Good morning, Joseph. Good morning, room. This is Timothy Doyle out here in the greater Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. I'm a buy and hold real estate investor, owner of Steel Hill Properties. Remember, if you can't buy it, steal it. My thought this morning, and Joseph, the one thing I don't think anyone I haven't heard yet on the room is, has anybody watched the unemployment numbers? Look at your migration. Look at your unemployment numbers. Look at your employment numbers. Also, the trend of people going back to the office as well. I know in my FTE right now, I've been pulled back into the office twice a week, and that may go up with things going on with my employer, considering what I do for that employer. But converting is a very good idea, as long as, again, basic things, know your numbers. As long as those numbers work for you, great. Another thing we're looking for, I know Melissa mentioned HUD as well, and it's a great idea, or Section 8 HUD housing. Great idea. Again, know your numbers. Know if you're putting together essentially not something I would consider what would be considered a greenfield. And what a greenfield is, essentially you're starting with nothing but ground. With a vacant commercial property, you're actually starting with a building that has been through some sort of code vetting process, has a overall structure, and all you're doing is retrofitting. So it may be cost effective for an investor to go in there and start retrofitting apartments in there. I know actually in Bethlehem, there have been in the Lehigh Valley, there have been old silk mills, for example, that have been converted. There was an old mill that right off of the Lehigh River in Bethlehem that was converted into apartments, and they've done very well. However, they have been converted on the luxury side. I think if more and more people do that and target mid-level income families, and don't say, price out for the high-end appliances, things that are Wi-Fi connected, et cetera, but give someone a comfortable living space within means and be able to figure out your price points to fit that Section 8 model, then you have a home run. Those are my thoughts, Joseph. Warriors, and welcome back. I hope you and Donna had a great time on vacation.
We did. Thank you, Timothy. It was a lot of fun. A little rocky on the way back. There was some storms, and I was dizzy the next day when I got off the boat. I was like moving back and forth a little bit. But I'd like to ask you a quick question, Tim. In regards to Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton, you had a lot of tired buildings 15, 20 years ago. You're starting to see a lot of conversions, a lot of remodeling. And are you hearing any mandates coming into a lot of these more luxurious apartment building conversions, especially in Allentown and Bethlehem, as well as Easton, certain areas of Easton right now so far that I'm seeing when I'm there? Are you hearing any rumblings of required Section 8 or affordable housing to these conversions? Are they staying away from that? I think Allentown's a little more appealing to that than probably the other two small cities. But how are you seeing that? Are you seeing that there's definitely a outsider's mentality where one side of the railroad it's the poor, and then you have the luxurious apartment living on the other side? What are you seeing?
Right now, Joseph, honestly, and you kind of helped frame that up. For those of you who don't know, I'll just give you a quick topography lesson. Bethlehem is like a small city, which is kind of like a rural. If you can imagine going down like downtown to an old style city setting where you've got like some boutique shops and some high-end
It's a
places.
suburbia city. It's a suburbia city.
Good job.
Yeah.
Easton, that's right in the middle of it. Easton is to the left, right by New Jersey, and Allentown's to the west a little bit, which is a little more diversified. They still have the mentality of, unfortunately, I haven't heard any grumblings of doing any kind of like mixed areas where they will, leverage some of the buildings in more places that have a better demographic than others. And even at that, I think it's still, unfortunately, very difficult to do a retrofit for mid to lower income families. So that's what I'm seeing still, unfortunately.
I think a lot of these smaller metro cities are boxing out affordable housing, where I think the advantage is right there is to the small landlord that has that single family through four family residential properties that are surrounding these redevelopments. I noticed this in Pittsburgh, Tulsa, Oklahoma City. I definitely noticed it in Milwaukee, St. Louis. I noticed it a lot, Indianapolis. So like you're getting these luxurious multifamily fit outs with some light office retail or light retail. And then you're seeing the single family through four family redevelopment where, those people are just priced out. They can't afford to go in there, or nor do they qualify, nor do they want to accept. Not that they can't say they're not accepting, but they're looking for market rent because what it costed them to get that unit to the market. So I see a major advantage to the landlord in this space. If you're sticking with the single family through four family, I think the Section 8 play is going to be huge in most of these cities. Like there's some cities where they've had massive apartment conversions, Los Angeles, California, actually some other ones that you don't see coming, like Alexandria, Virginia. That's outside of DC. Baltimore, Maryland. Listen, I've been to Baltimore recently. It's a shameful thing that's going on in that city. So if you're a commercial business, you don't want to be in Baltimore. Okay, so what are you going to do with all these buildings? Okay, so you're seeing massive repositioning on a lot of these buildings, and I just don't think people are going to flock back to Baltimore. I think it's going to be very Section 8 housing, affordable housing. I think your suburbs of Baltimore are doing very well based on just the quality of life and crime stats. Cleveland, Ohio is another market where, it's a small market. You have a lot of commercial building space that was built 100 years ago that they got to do something with it. If they can't demolish it, they're going to have to convert them. Lakewood, Colorado is on the list. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Richmond, Virginia, and Norfolk, Virginia, which I've been to both, very tired cities where they're revitalizing a lot of their downtown corridors. And I'm seeing a lot of conversions there. And Pittsburgh, PA is on there, and Atlanta, Georgia is on there to look out for. So does this impact the landlord that owns single family through for family? Yes. But you have to look at it from the pro perspective that you could be the most attractive option to Section 8 housing, where it's more near guaranteed rent comparatively to the market rent and the professional tenant that knows how to take advantage of the landlord as a professional tenant. Good morning, Jim, and welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and give a little discussion to converting commercial real estate into residential multifamily, and an update to the Great Mile High Summit.
Hey, Jim, can you hear me? Because you're breaking up to me. I don't know if it's me or you.
I can hear you fine, and everybody else can hear me.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Clubhouse, and welcome back, Joe. This is Jim Edenfield. I'm in Denver area. I live in Broomfield. I own and host 2 meetup groups. We meet 4 times a month, but the biggest thing we're doing right now is promoting the Great Mile High Real Estate Investor Summit in Denver in March. I got the link in the chat there. And what we've got as a special discount, we're putting it back in $50 off. But if you would use RIG50, and you'll save $50 off. We got about 30 speakers coming in from across the country and locally. Joe will be here. He'll be speaking on Friday and Saturday. We're going to have happy hours every afternoon. Lunch is included. And dinner, we're just going to have a good time. Multi-day event. Sunday will be a bus tour. We'll load up a bus, and Tim's going to take us around Denver, showing the different areas and how diverse they are. And we want to tell you what's going on in Denver, and we want you here because we want to hear what's going on in your part of the country. We may live and teach in Denver, but we're looking at investing anywhere. But in today's topic, I'm downtown Denver right now, setting up the John Fisher's Breakfast Club. And when COVID, or before COVID, there was a huge population in downtown Denver. Man, traffic down here, even in the middle of the day, was terrible to get rush hour. COVID hit, and it's like Denver got erased off the map downtown. And they're still way, way, way below. And as far as housing, even before COVID, we had a housing shortage, a rental shortage, and it's gotten worse because people still keep coming here. The city of Denver actually did a study. I think they took about 20 high-rise office buildings downtown Denver and really looked really hard and said, let's develop a plan that we can convert these to housing and maybe commercial, shopping and stuff, retail into housing. And out of the 20, they picked 10 buildings, but as they really got looking deep down inside, I heard plumbing earlier, and that's the biggest obstacle because these places aren't made for 50 bathrooms on one floor. I haven't heard that they've moved forward on any kind of official plan, but they do need housing, and the commercial is just sitting down here. So you could probably, if you're looking for a big office space, you probably get some pretty cheap down here. But there's a couple of hotels that are being taken over and used for homeless. And with our recent flooding of immigrants coming in, again, the housing shortage has gone even worse. So if you want to dabble in that space, there's ways to make money. Just want to, again, as I always say, find your niche and get educated and make the right teams. Thanks for having me, Joe, and again, welcome back.
Thanks, Jim. And when I was out in Denver recently, there's a big stretch of real estate being converted to multifamily, single-family residential, hotel between the airport and Denver proper. And I think what it's doing is it's just eroding the appeal to stay in the city. And yeah, there's some downtown activities, but they're making it so appealing to be outside of Denver. So I really have a bad feeling about a city like Denver where they have all these empty office buildings where everybody wants to work outside in the suburbs. What do you do with these buildings? I mean, there's a homelessness issue there. It was extremely visual. It wasn't like they were hiding. And it's definitely something of concern. I think a lot of cities are having the same problem. New York, we see what's going on. It's no joke there. Philadelphia is no joke. Baltimore is no joke. I'm sure there's other city markets that we could talk about. Chicago, I mean, what they're doing at the airport is sinful. So yeah, there's an epidemic of homelessness and affordability to live. So I think these office buildings and these motels, and if you can convert them and see the value add to multifamily space, you know, I really look forward to getting out there in Colorado for this event. I think it's going to be quite exciting. The link is up above. Please join us. I think we have a great compilation of some great speakers. I'm also going to add another great event. I want to take this minute real quick. There's not another clubhouse group, not one, that has multiple venue events per year. One in LA, one in Philadelphia, one in Denver, one in Florida. We have now a podcast. We're interviewing our moderators. We're interviewing people. We're making a difference. I actually reached out to another club on Clubhouse and invited every single person to be interviewed to feature them. Guess how many people got back to me? Nobody. We are here to communicate with you. We're here to reach out to you. If you need to have a strategy discussion, if you need to get an answer, we want to be your power team of choice. I don't need to name who the groups are. Obviously, there's some issues there, and they're not mine, so I'm good. But we have taken the relationship with Clubhouse, and we are building relationships nationwide. I have visited multiple RIAs. I will be revisiting multiple RIAs. There's some big announcements I'll be making next week since I got back from vacation. I'll be back on the road in certain aspects. I'll be featured at a couple bigger events coming up that I'll be announcing up and above the Denver and Philadelphia event. But there's just not a group out there doing what we're doing. Maybe we're not the biggest group on here. Maybe we'll never be. Maybe it doesn't really matter. I'd rather be the group they don't see coming. So I'd like to announce another event that we're having in April as a follow-up to the Denver event in Philadelphia at the iconic Mummer Museum in downtown South Philadelphia. We're going to have a luncheon mastermind on Friday, a dinner mastermind. Saturday, we're going to have educational speakers from 9 to 5. Then we're going to go right back at it with a mastermind dinner on Saturday evening. There's hotel options down at the Navy Yard. Everything's within 2 miles of one another. The hotel, Mummer Museum, Moonshine Philly. A great opportunity to bring people together. We had such a great time last year. We had almost 200 people, 200 registered people physically there. We have all new speakers. We don't want to keep the same. We want to keep bringing new education to our listeners, our attendees. Nothing being sold at the back of the room. Okay, so that's the difference with the Creative Birth Strategies House. We're here to be part of your power team, not to sell you a book, a class, a workshop. We're here to be part of your power team. And I think that's where it separates a lot of people. I am a licensed real estate agent. I'm a licensed banker. I'm licensed in title. I'm licensed in property and casualty insurance. I have my driver's license. I really don't want to jeopardize any of them. I want to be part of your power team. So by putting on these great educational events and being committed to providing you education every Saturday and Sunday, this is a very important subject. If you're looking at a 4-unit and there's a commercial space below and it's empty for the last 5 years, what do you do? Who do you talk to? Do you go to the zoning department? Do you go to the zoning meetings? Do you talk to a zoning attorney that's winning at those zoning meetings to find out how you can win in that conversion. Building relationships and creating a value add by converting a commercial space to residential is brilliant. I've done over 24 of them in the past 6 months for clients. I've done them for myself. I've converted it was a 15 unit plumbing space with apartments. I converted it into a laundromat, added apartments. I've done that already. I did it in Wilsonboro, Pennsylvania, across the street from Wilson High School. It's still there. It's a 15 unit conversion. I'm the one that did it. I sold it off at a premium, made some great money, put it in a great position with someone to maintain it to this day. So there are opportunities out there. You just need to find the tired opportunities. Okay. You need to understand what market rents are. You need to understand what construction costs are. You need to understand what the completed value looks like. You need to have those type of discussions. And listen, we're here to provide that strategy. Understanding converting commercial real estate. It might not be for you, but if you hear of an announcement of a conversion of that type of facility, maybe you identify properties in a surrounding area that might be tired that you could turn around to take advantage of the revitalization of that market. Justin, good morning and welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to discussion this morning, converting commercial real estate into residential multifamily.
Good morning, Bill. Let me step back this way. My name is Justin Jefferson. I'm in the southern Louisiana market. Right now, we're getting ready for our festive season. I'm getting ready to do a little Mardi Gras today with the family. But Joe, as always, this is one of those topics where, when you get to talking about it, as soon as I get these other things I have taken care of, I already have some properties in mind that I think would be great opportunities for this type of conversion. And I'll just give a little insight on why I say that for these properties. One of them that I'm thinking about, I know the owner of the motel has been a long time owner of it. It's a family property, but it's right there in the area that I like. It's right off of LSU campus. It's on one of the main strips, Highland Road. It's another area that's experienced the problems like the drugs and violence and the all of the negative things that come with a place like an old style one level motel that's ducked off and kind of hidden from sight. So converting that, I think I would get a lot of, and maybe you could speak to this, getting a lot of support from the municipalities and your other government people in the area, the permitting department in the area. Maybe you could speak to a little bit of that about some of the obstacles maybe your clients have had with some of their conversions. But other than that, man, it's a great topic, and I think it's something that can be in budget for somebody like myself that wants to go from, maybe building and doing some residential remodels and ease their way into commercial, and maybe not all the big, full-time commercial, right? Maybe not just stick to that, but it's something that I can open my experience with and, put on my resume. So those are my thoughts this morning.
So Justin, well, one, enjoy Mardi Gras. I've only heard stories about it, so enjoy yourself. And if you find any trouble, please call me. I'll be more than happy to support you in your trouble. So that's one thing. So two, let's talk about how do you go about, when you find a tired building. If it's a community or neighborhood, if it's a small town, neighborhood, or community there, you need to find out when the next zoning meeting is. I mean, the zoning meeting is probably one of the best networking events that you can go to, real estate related, in that town. If you don't want to go to a real estate investor networking event, go to a real estate zoning meeting, because everybody that's concerned about that town and that community are there. That's real networking, because those are the decision makers. Those are the people that are going to say either yay or nay. They're the people that you need to be in like with. They need to appreciate you. They need to see you present. They need to see that you're committed. Okay. Then you have to identify who your key players are. Who's winning at those zoning meetings? Who's losing at those zoning meetings? And why? What were the pros and cons? You need to take notes. What were they presenting that was turned down? What were they presenting that was getting approved? Who's on the zoning board? Like, who are your key players on that zoning board? Who are the decision makers and what do they do? And why are they making their decisions based on those being presented? So you have to really dive into that. And then you obviously the attorney is going to be so key to who you pick. So you really need to see who's winning and losing and where the details are. And then have and interview these individuals. Do they match up with what you're trying to accomplish with these commercial buildings? Now, when you go into the cities, now it's more neighborhood broken down. So a lot of these cities do their zoning by neighborhood or by zip code because there's just so many neighborhoods. Like Philadelphia's got like 70 neighborhoods, so they probably have 35 to 40 zoning boards within the neighborhoods before it gets to the city zoning planning board. So you need to know who the local players are in a city, and then you need to know who the major players at the city. Sometimes there's overlap, sometimes there's completely different people. So you really need to understand how to break that down. It's not about, hey, I found this building. I'm sure they're going to let me get this approved. You need to go to this. You need to do your homework. It's like going back to high school. Going to a zoning meeting is like going back to high school. You're people that are there are the people that it's a very interesting dynamic for the people that are very involved with their town communities. They're typically been there their whole life. Some haven't. But they know their market. They know their town, whether from their perspective, of course. So you need to understand the mindset to what's going on. They might not want you to convert that building. There might be no way in hell, even if you submit a hardship, that the property is never going to be what it was 10 years ago. So you really have to do your homework from the local zoning level first. And that might not even be involved looking at a property. That just get yourself familiar with who the players are. Who are the right attorneys? Who are the right architects? Who's the right structural engineers? Who's the right environmentalists? These are things that you need to evaluate before you even go after a corridor or an opportunity, because does it make sense? Are they friendly to what you're trying to address? Joseph, some outgoing remarks and thoughts to our discussion this morning, converting commercial real estate into residential multifamily.
Yeah, Joe. So one of the key things that you said, there's tired opportunities out there, right? And just things that have been sitting and just waiting. And when you said that, there was a story that I was watching on YouTube where they talked about fracking, and it was a guy from Texas at a bar, and he laughed and he said, fracking will never happen unless gas is at $4 a gallon. And now fracking was happening, right? So same thing. Those complexes that have been sitting on the market forever, while they weren't an opportunity for quite some time, however long it may be, 5 or 10 years up for sale with no one buying it, now might be the opportunity where you can get it done. Of course, all the plumbing issues and electrical issues and separating everything would have to be the opportunity there is, but the mindset of people have changed from yesteryear, and you need to take that and use that to your advantage.
So saying that, you're looking at a lot of properties right now lately, right? More the single family. Do you take a look at what's going on in your downtown communities and how that will impact your decision making and buying that single family home at all?
Yeah. Listen, we joke, right? I was a waiter in one of your past clubhouse things we talked, and you thought that I was a waiter in a restaurant, right? But I'm actually set to close on a condo at the end of the month, and that happened while you were on vacation. So maybe you should take more vacations so you get under contract. Just my good luck sign, right? And I'm looking at 2 more properties this morning in an area that I never would have checked. It's a B area, right? But knowing that the influence that are happening, and we talked about this in prior clubhouses, and you mentioned it today, right? There's some things that are really happening, like in the Baltimore and Philadelphia market, where crime is rising, and people are getting tired more and more of being subjected to that type of environment, where whether they can't raise their children in that environment effectively, or they just don't want to be subjected to. I mean, for Pete's sake, there's some teenage gangs that are ganging up on older people and robbing them in the streets. And you get that everywhere, right? And you probably had that back in the days of when policing was actually there, but it's even more prevalent now. So, yeah, I do take that into consideration, and not just for values, it's just for demand of rentals. So one rental that I've never considered was a single bed, was a one bedroom, and I'm buying a one bedroom now because it makes sense. The rents have increased where to where it now makes sense and the numbers could work.
Yeah, I'm looking at more the revitalization of conversions where where Melissa brought this up is and Timothy brought this up as well. The affordability of these luxurious apartments are actually helping that single family through four family residential neighborhoods surrounding those properties for affordable housing, more Section 8. If you look at the Section 8 numbers, they've gone up 20% in the last year. And if you look at the neighborhood designations in a lot of these small metro cities, right now, Section 8 housing is priced better for the single family through four family than the market rent. And getting a Section 8 tenant out, not saying it's any easier, but you have a better chance of a more qualified tenant that's going to stay in the unit paying their difference. And you're going to have a better quality of deferred maintenance understanding with a Section 8 housing environment, because there's certain requirements you have to maintain. Where I think the tenant that it's in the market rent, I've heard horror stories where the tenant never informs the landlord of like a leaky faucet or a pipe, and all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. And to get that tenant out, cash for keys, 6 to 8 month eviction proceedings. It sounds like I'm in New York City. You hear horror stories in New York getting somebody evicted out. It'll take a year to get somebody out. There's no difference getting somebody out in Philadelphia, Baltimore, Chicago. They're all horrendous at this time. So where's the good markets to identify? I like the small town downtown corridors where you have a longer term tenant. They might have children in the educational system. They need to be part of that fabric on behalf of their children, and they're going to be a little more concerning about their surroundings. They're going to be concerned about crime. I mean, I'm constantly seeing issues in Philadelphia. I'm sure it's no different in all the other major cities. And I think these conversions are necessary to keep downtown communities, but you need to go to a zoning meeting, please. If you need help in understanding where to identify one for whatever market you're looking for, we'd be more than happy to address that and assist you in your successes. We want you to be the smarter real estate investor. Being part of the Creative Bird Strategies podcast, the Creative Bird Strategies house, being part of our power team, is important. And listen, raise your hand if you have a question. We do have a chat, but I don't get to look at it till afterwards. Raise your hand and come up. Ask the question. We're here to hopefully provide examples, direction, and strategy. So this is episode 7, which I'm quite excited we got to. We've had hundreds of downloads to our podcast on Apple and Spotify. We have, I think, 2 or 3 podcasts we're doing that are going to be pre-recorded today at our offices in South Philadelphia at the New Bold Exchange. We're gonna podcast tomorrow's discussion at 9:30 a.m. And we have some great events coming up. Join me in South Jersey at the South Jersey RIA on the 17th. I'm going to be also in Connecticut on the 15th. If anybody's up in the Bridgeport area, but South Jersey, I'll be there for a whole Saturday workshop. And then we're going to be in Denver in March, and then obviously we're going to be in Philadelphia in April. We have other planned events coming up. I'll probably be back to Los Angeles at the LA RIA Expo and a couple other events coming up. I have probably have 6 to 8 speakings and presentations coming up in the next couple of months. But also I have some big announcements coming up on some programs and products that hopefully will assist a lot of our client inquiry. And there'll be a referral and broker portal set up for anybody that's interested in becoming a referral partner with me in the lending space. Also, I'm going to be providing pricing sizes so you could price out your own loans. I'll educate you how to do that as well. So if anybody has any interest in that, or even for your clients for that matter. So that's a great tool. So if anybody that's interested in understanding how to price a loan, please email, call me, or text me, and we could set up a call about how to price out a loan. I could walk you through it. It'll be one of the best exposures to understanding the mortgage industry from whatever perspective you're in. So I think this has been a very solid 60 minutes of education and networking, and hopefully creating some opportunities and insight. I always like to end the podcast and the room off with a quote: turn pain into anger, anger into motivation, and motivation into success. This is Joseph Scorese, Nationwide Direct Private Lender, here to provide insight and strategy every Saturday morning, 8 a.m., every Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're on Apple and Spotify as Creative Birth Strategies. We also have a website, creativebirthstrategies.com. You can join us through there. I appreciate everybody's engagement and time this morning. I'll be ending the room in the next 30 seconds. See y'all tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great day.